Hello and welcome back to Verbose Mode by TaxCare at Basel 1 2025, the last interview of this amazing event. And my next guest is François. Welcome.
Yeah.
You might remember François from previous episodes. That's not the first time we're doing it, and hopefully not the last. But François has a lot, how should we say, like a vast portfolio of topics he's expert in. And last time we spoke about build systems and what's not. This time we're going to talk about Java streams.
Yeah.
And that's a direct follow-up on our conversation with Dr. Kai Horstman. If you didn't catch that, go to TaxCare YouTube and watch this episode before or after. So let's talk about Java streams some more.
Sure, yeah, let's do that.
What was your talk about?
So my talk was about, so the title was called, I didn't know you could do that with Java streams. And it was kind of inspired by, I actually got this as a comment, of course it was in German, but I got this as a comment in a pull request where I have suggested something to someone, a colleague I was working with, because I know streams quite well. And so every time I have a pull request from a colleague, and I see they are maybe doing something in not that ideal of a way, I noticed kind of, for example, it's kind of, most of the streams I see people are using map filter and they're using collect, but they're not really using, many more advanced features. And then I'm suggesting to them, you could write it this way, and then maybe, it's like, more semantic, it's easier to read, the performance is better, like those kinds of things. And at some point I thought, why, I noticed there were some patterns, like there were similar kinds of things. And I thought, why not just, compile them into a talk? And then that's what I did. So I took like examples of that I experienced in production where I, gave people like suggestions on how to improve their code, for example, or that I refactored myself that I found in code bases. And in the talk, I'm showing like the example that is the more simple version, for example, with a loop or a simpler stream, than in a version where you have the stream where it's more advanced or better in some way.
I love it. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's do my favorite top three.
Oh, okay.
Let's do top 3 features about streams that you didn't know.
Okay, that's always a kind of a thing. It depends on the knowledge, I would say, of the people, right? Because what I notice is lots of things that people don't know is that lots of people, they end their streams in collectors to list. And lots of people don't, I would say this is like maybe my top 1, they don't think about what are there other ways to terminate the stream. Because there are other things like, any match, all match, and all kinds of other things like find, any, and whatever. And lots of people don't really tend to think about using them, is what I've noticed. So
I think also it makes much more sense. Converting the stream to list is an invitation to do something on the list that you should have really done on the stream instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, but there are so many people, I was surprised too, right, when I saw this, but you won't believe how many times I've seen people, for example, they do some operations and then they collect it, for example, and then they check the size to see if there are more than one element inside. Or, like the better version, but still like not as great, is like they do count at the end, which is, better. But then they just do like, is count greater than 1? And it's again like, you're essentially forcing the JVM to go through all of the elements. But if you just did any match, for example, and then you found the first one, and then you could short circuit at that point, it would be so much easier, and it's also more semantic as well, which is the part that I love about streams. It's just that, if you can use them correctly, then the code doesn't only usually become more readable, but also usually it has a better performance.
Of course, yeah. And it's more elegant. All right, yeah. Okay, so here we go. Point number 1. Think about, so before converting stream to list, think about what you're going to do with the list and check. You probably can do it with a stream without ruining everything that you did before by converting the list to the stream to the list.
Exactly, or think like, do you really need the list? If you don't need the list, probably there's a better way of doing it. Like even if you're just getting one single element, think, do you need that single element? Maybe you just need a little aspect of it, and then you can improve your streams in a big way by doing this, just thinking about this. Yeah.
Excellent, brilliant. Okay, yeah. We got that. Number 2.
Number 2, good question. So I would say one that I don't see being used that often, even though it's kind of simple, is, I would say, limit, in my opinion. Like with .limit, you can simply say, for example, I'm only interested in let's say, top 3 elements, just like the top 3 things you're learning, right? And there, I would say, not enough people know about this. I've noticed lots of people, for example, they, again, collect to a list. And then they, for example, what I saw in one case was they just did the list, dot sublist, then, for example, 0, 3.
Oh, that's painful. That's painful.
It is painful, but it gets even more painful. Actually, I found a bug in that code because we had a case at some point where we had less than 3 elements, and if you call sublist and then 0, 3, it will throw an exception if you don't have 3 elements in the list. Yeah. Crazy, right?
People don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Now, limit is excellent, and it's also something natural for other data forms, right? For example, in SQL. This is something that we always do, right? I mean, we get a subset of whatever query we send. And here it's the same. And it's not just random limit, give me like any 3 elements. You can actually meaningfully sort with streams your stream, and then limit will actually give you exactly what you need.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
So that's totally makes sense. And the third one?
I would say probably flat map for me. It's like flat map is one of those methods where, especially combined with reduce, where usually people start to get confused. I mean, flat map is something that more people are able to grasp usually, but it was kind of funny in my talk today. I also asked the people like who of you knows reduce? And then like I think half of the audience raised their hand, and I was like, and who of you has to look up the API every time that they're using reduce? And also the same amount of people raised their hand, right?
I think that's a blame of, that's a bug in the design, because the design was borrowed entirely in its entirety from MapReduce, from a completely foreign paradigm for Java developers.
Yes, absolutely.
And I remember myself when I saw that in Java 8, and I was like, what the actual, I mean, why?
Yes, absolutely.
Even if you know what MapReduce is, this is so foreign for Java. Why do you pull it without actually reformatting it to concepts that are familiar for Java developers?
Absolutely agreed. And I have to say, I had to look for a while. Usually when people use reduce in pull requests, that happens sometimes. I usually tell people to do it differently because there are usually better ways to do it. There's just one case that I know of where it actually makes more sense to use reduce than doing it any other way, which I'm showing in the talk as well. But yeah, usually it's very rare that you have a case where reduce really makes sense, just like you said. But to get back to the flat map, this is like one that I also notice lots of people, before they call flat map, what people usually tend to do is, again, they just filter and so on, they map, and then they collect, and then they take that and they make another stream out of that. Yeah. And again,
but again, MapReduce is a very important concept. We definitely want it with streams.
Yes.
It's just should have been redesigned to match what Java developers understand, how they perceive it, and how they use it.
Yeah.
And even the names. I mean, in the end of the day, for functional people, MapReduce is a concept that they're born with, right? They get it with their mother's milk. This is something so natural to them, but they never really think what the words mean. But for us, when we see it for the first time, it's like, well, map means completely different things, and reduce means completely different things. So even like the term MapReduce doesn't make any sense to us, and we're like, why it's called like that? This is nothing like map, and this is nothing like reduce.
Yeah, totally. Right? I know what you mean.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, they kind of assume that everybody would just be knowing, what reduce is just from the functional perspective. But with streams introducing kind of, and lambdas of course, like this more this functional style into Java, I think maybe that's something you could have done differently, right?
And I mean, and it's a shame because those are really great tools, and they just feel foreign because they are foreign, but they could be introduced, I would say, better for Java people, and obviously I completely get it while people stay away, and it's a shame.
Absolutely agreed. I mean, if you think about it, lots of the things like sum and so on behind the scenes, they all use a reduce, right? So without them, lots of those operations wouldn't be possible. It's really necessary, but it's really like I noticed like the bigger issue is either people not knowing how to use reduce, or if they know how to use it, then often they use it in a case where it would be better to use sum or some other thing that they don't know about, for example.
Yep.
So that was also kind of the goal of my talk, to get people to know about those things so they know when or what they could use, for example, in their codes. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. All right. So you learn, guys. Top 3 things. Don't convert to list by default. Think about what you want to do with the list. The second was what was
limits?
it? Yes, use limits instead of converting to list and then doing sublist and this crazy stuff. But generally, do limit on a well-sorted stream. And third is map reduce. We know it's painful. Do yourself a favor. Learn what it is. Learn how to use it and use it right.
Correct. Yeah. Well,
Perfect.
Well summed up, I would say.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well reduced, you could also say, right?
Yes, well reduced. Here we go. But it wasn't reduced. It was a summary. The reduced doesn't. Oh. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
François, thank you very much. And you all, thank you very much for being with us during our verbose mode interviewed by Dax here at Basel 1 2025. Next week, we will have the amazing Chris DeMars doing verbose mode by Dax here at Magnolia Conf. So stay tuned to that. There's going to be a completely different set of guests. It's going to be very, very interesting. Don't miss. And I will see you next time at the verbose mode. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much too, Baruch.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Bye.